So namaste, Kanchan bhai.
Namaste.
Good to have you at the HSC camp. I know you've only missed one camp so far in all these years. So thank you very much. For the viewers, I want to introduce Kanchan bhai. Kanchan Banerjee is one of the co-founders of Hindu Students Council. So he's been with HSC since the past 30 years. He's been one of the guiding lights of HSC. Personally speaking, myself, Nikunj Trivedi, I'm currently the chairman of the board of trustees of Hindu Students Council. And I've had the pleasure of working with Kanchan bhai for all these years since my days in HSC at Rutgers University. And he's been one of my inspirations and guiding light for continuing to work in HSC. So Kanchan bhai, what I want to do today is talk to you about kind of, it's been a long ride. It's been 30 years, since the day you started HSC. Life was very different then. And we have a whole new board of people here, new generations. Some of them, even your kids now, are in college. One of them almost out of college. So life has gone on quite a bit. Things have changed a lot. So let me first start off by maybe you could tell us a little bit about Hindu Students Council when it first started. What was your thinking? Like, what did you guys think about from a vision perspective when you started HSC in 1990? What was the situation at that time?
It is the very simple idea was home away from home. That when we, the students, when we go to the college campuses, we needed to remain in a community that is like us, the Hindus, and we can share our Indian students associations everywhere, India Club, India Student Association, and not necessarily they were the forums for exploring your own culture and heritage. Yes, there were Bhangra, there were Independence Day celebration, but when you wanted to deeply understand your own heritage and culture, the scope was limited because of the secular nature of those organizations. And so few of us who were students, and we wanted to have a forum specifically to learn about our heritage and culture when we are away from our homes. Because at home or in our community when we are younger, we can go to a temple. Though those days there are not as many temples as we have today, but yes, this was our forum to learn and share not only our heritage and culture, but our life stories. So who else could be better person to understand your culture and heritage and share our life stories?
Okay, so home away from home, a place for us to practice our tradition in an authentic way, not like just some secularization of some festivals, and a lack of organized space on campus for Hindu students. So that was kind of the impetus behind why HSC was really started.
Yes.
Okay, and then how did it grow? Like, so it was a small idea from what I understand in the camp, at Innuendo in New Jersey was the first camp. What was the reaction of students?
So to give you a little bit of history, Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, VHP of America, was the only Hindu organization in this country to provide some sort of samskara and education to our younger generation. So VHP was organizing Bal Vihars and youth camps and youth conferences. And some of us who were in colleges and some of the parents whose kids are going to go to college from those high school youth camps and youth conferences, they came to us also that why don't you start something on campuses and where people can learn. So what happened back in '89, those of you know Gokul Uncle, Gokul Bhai, Gokul Kunal, he came to Boston in one of the programs, the elderly programs for the elderly, organized by VHP of America. And we met first time. And he said, Kanchan, you're Kanchan? I said, yeah, I'm Kanchan. I have heard a lot about you. By the night, I was nobody, actually nobody knew me that much, but someone told him about me. So he said, you come to Atlanta and we will start our organization now. So long conversation, I didn't even have money to pay for the plane ticket. He found someone to sponsor the plane ticket and went to Atlanta. We had the first meeting at Georgia Tech. And the concept of Hindu Students Council was already there, but there was no formal announcement, formal organization, formal naming, or anything was not there. So next 1 year, it was, I'm talking 89. Next 1 year, what happened, those days, how expensive long distance phone calls were. I still probably have the bills. I made roughly 300-400 calls over a period. Any uncle I knew said, okay, do you know anybody who's going to college? We want to start an organization. And finally, there was a camp organized by VHP Youth Camp at Camp Innocent in New Jersey. This is a Girl Scout campsite. And in the camp, we had barely managed to have 29 people to come. And during that period, people were ridiculous. Talking about Hindu on campus, you must be crazy. You must be out of your mind. So the acceptance of the H word itself was doubted by people who was not sure. We said, this is what we want to do, we'll do. And that camp, at that camp, 29 people camp, we were mostly grad students, by the way. We were grad students, and there are few undergraduate students, and many of you may have heard of Dr. Mahesh Mehta, who's been pioneer in this country for many of the Hindu activities, Hindu organizations. So we entrusted on him to help us picking the name. He's the most senior person. He has a law degree, he has a business degree, and from American perspective, what is the best name? So we came up with about 15 different names for this organization. So the top list was Hindu Student Federation. And then someone, I think Ajay Shah, said, Federation has a communist connotation in India, so let's do something. So we settled with Hindu Students Council. And then S, plural, also had a discussion on should it be students, apostrophe, students, comma S. We settled with students without any apostrophe or comma. So then we had that was the first inauguration of this organization called Hindu Students Council. So give some evolution of what happened. So it was 1990 in May, Memorial Day weekend. In 1990, we had this camp form. And subsequently, many more people joined. So in the beginning, we were myself, Gokul, Kunnath, and Ajay Shah. These are the three people from Tipa, Bengal, Kerala, and Gujarat. And because of a lot of our friends, our mentors were Gujaratis, so they started calling me Kanchan Bhai. Because Bhai is not a Bengali, it's Kanchan Da, right? So Bhai, I became Bhai to everybody now. And some of you now, uncle. Then many more people joined, and I want to mention two people, part of a closer family, which is my brother Chandan. Many of you have not met him, he's in India. So he spent an enormous amount of time to go to places to establish more chapters. And then joined in 92, Haimanti joined, and we all together, and many more people came in the whole movement. A lot of enthusiasm among a lot of people. So by 1992 end, guess how many chapters we had? Do you guess?
Before my time.
So 90 to 92 end, 2.5 years, less than 2.5 years, it was like fire, on campuses. 40 chapters within 2.5 years. And you know why the reason is? The reason is there was a need for it. People are looking for an organization where they can, learn the same goal, learn about our heritage and culture and practice their religious practices on campus. So the need was kind of fulfilled, and people were so I used to get calls from everyone then. No internet yet. So in 1993, how many of you know about the significance of 1993 from Hindu perspective in America? Very good. 100th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's speech in Chicago at the World Parliament of Religions. So we thought that would be the great thing to celebrate, that our arrival to America, along with our values and our dharma, came to America through Swamiji, and we said, let us celebrate the 100th anniversary of. So we called it, you saw my shirt yesterday, Global Vision 2000. So it was not in 2000, actually we did it in 1993 in Washington, D.C. And we were doubtful how many young people are going to come. And you know how many people came. 2,100 people came. And we had disaster to manage the crowd. I mean, it's like, and people didn't register, they just showed up. Why I mentioned this, that again goes back to the idea of need. They were looking for something like this. There was a need for it in identity, learning about heritage. So that was 1993.
Okay, that's great. So we see a fire that's started in the 1990s. By 3 years, there's like 2,100 people showing up at a conference. 2,100 youth. That's correct. Youth. But the other conferences, bigger conference had
10,000 people. 10,000 people of that for the adults.
So 2,100 youth, and then from what I understand from you, it's continued to grow and stuff. Now, help me understand that. Like you said, that there was not that much proliferation of Hindu activities on campus, right? So as the years went by, what changes have you seen? You used to travel to a few chapters. You were like advising people in various areas on Hindu activities. What changes have you seen on campus?
So after '93, I want to mention that by 2000, in 10 years' time, we reached official registered chapter, not necessarily all are active or great chapters, 80 chapters, if you remember. 80 chapters, 80 campuses, we have chapters. But then it slowed down. It was dwindling for two reasons. The key reason being, by then, there are several other organizations, spiritual type of organizations, namely the very first one was Chinmay Mission. Swami Chinmayanandaji was a great sage, and they started a youth program, again in the 90s.
Yes.
Now, as you can see, those people who were going to those programs, they continue in the colleges, and then many more such organizations came into place. Even ISKCON, there are ISKCON organizations on campuses. So now the need is fulfilled by multiple channels. So there was one HSC, there was nobody else. Now suddenly we have more channels to learn from, and many more temples. Even near campuses, there are many temples now. So that way, HSC's need was kind of reduced. But on the other hand, we were stretched too thin. We didn't have money. We used to pay from our own pockets. There's no fundraising concept in those days, and whoever donated, many people did donate, but we didn't have big money. So we couldn't have an office like any other religious organization on campus. You will see the Jewish, Hillel or Islamic organizations. They get lots of funding from many different sources. Unfortunately, our community focus on mandirs only. Mandirs are great and necessary, but even today, I think you've been trying to involve the mandirs, that our youth is very important on campuses as well. It's a long, so what I'm trying to say that, so the need was kind of fulfilled by others as well. And then we were stretched a little thin, and then we had to slow down.
Yeah, no, I understand. So I remember that. That's when I joined approximately.
That's what approximately the time when you joined from Rutgers, and I still remember the young, tall, shy man. He was very shy at that time. I recall that, and today he is leading the movement we started in the 90s. He has been almost like a lone Senapati, the commander-in-chief for many years, and I'm sure that many people helped. All of us have been this movement. And I want to go back to the history a little bit more.
Sure, let's start.
So when we started, it was mostly puja arati, mostly the bhakti part of it when we started, and that was great. Later on, many chapters, I remember distinctly, University of Michigan, they had a session on what we mentioned today, was Kama Shastra. And it was like, my God, in Hindu. So community was not very accepting at that point. And the topics we discussed, these are supposed to be controversial, but very much relevant to everyone's life, and we must address those. So slowly we moved into those topics that are relevant to us. So one hand we were doing bhakti, and then of course hatha yoga, which is yoga practices, and then relevant social topics. Then a time came in 2003, we had this idea of, as we mentioned in the morning, we are hesitant to call Hinduism, because when you use the term Hinduism as if it's someone's belief system and just at par with any other religion, we call it Dharma, and just in absence of any other name, we call it Hindu Dharma or Vedic Dharma, whatever way you want to call, or Vedic tradition or Hindu tradition, whatever you want to call. This idea, the dichotomy between religion versus dharma, was very prevalent on campuses. People were ready to learn about the idea of dharma. Yeah. So we said, we should have in-depth discussion on this idea of dharma. And in 2002, we planned for a year-long campus-wide discussion on different topics related to dharma and environment, dharma and family life. Every month we had a theme, and every campus was picking up that topic. And so culmination was the Dharma Conference, the first Global Dharma Conference in 2003. And before that, we did another experiment, if you remember. I think you were Journey for Just. And we got a van. You have the Bikram yoga, the hot yoga. So Bikram Chaudhary donated us a van. Yes. And we decorated the van with dharma and all this. And we traveled so he gave it in California, all the way to Boston. We drove through all the campuses. Dharma is going. And Samir, all those of you remember, Samir Bhai, he was coordinating.
He was the ex-president before me.
Yes, Samir Bhai was president before Nitin Bhai. Then we got into the Dharma conference. And at that time, again, craze was so high. Anyone we wanted to have in our conference, we got everybody. Yeah. Almost everybody we wanted came to our conference. So we approached all our experts in the field of dharma, whether it's Dr. David Frawley or Subhash Scott, or all the contemporary scholars and researchers, but also every single dharma group from every single cult and sect or sampradaya came to our program. And Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, who was the chairman of the whole conference, and so we couldn't find the Jain tradition. We were focusing on dharmic tradition, those who are in line with dharma, meaning sustaining principles. We were calling them. Not that we did not have other programs. We had a dialogue with interfaith dialogue. Also, we had all the different religious groups came and discussed about the idea of dharma. But even Deepak Chopra came. Then we said we had this dream. We want to have the President of India to address us, and President Abdul Kalam. And it was a tough job. But guess what? I just sent a letter to his personal address. Immediate response came, yes, I will talk. And in 2003, video conferencing was not a joke. Yes. It was very expensive. Logistically, oh my God. Yes. So when Dr. Kalam came on the, people stood up and like ecstatic, oh my God, President is speaking. And he talked about Dharma. Awesome speech. Yes. We went to Shankaracharya's, Shankaracharya of Kanchi. we had a video conference from here. There, he spoke from his ashram. We had one Jain when he spoke. We couldn't get Dalai Lama because we tried to connect. He agreed to come. He was in some remote place in somewhere in North India, so we couldn't connect at all. So grand success. How many people came?
We had over 2,000 people there, 2,500 to
Yeah.
people there.
So again, a lot of college professionals and some adults also came. So that was a huge impact. So we said, from now on, we will call our tradition as dharma, not a religion in per se. So that was 93.
Yeah, and I remember in 2003.
Yeah,
So
2003.
I remember distinctly because I was just a few years out of college, and we started the planning process and stuff. So I remember some of the names that we, Pramukh Swami Maharaj also was in video conference. Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, Goldie Hawn from Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver. She did the video conference, and then we had Dr. George Sudarshan.
Oh yeah.
So many different types of people
Scientists.
from all, whether scientists, spiritual leaders, to like political leaders, to people who are even in the U.S. New Jersey's governor Jim McCreevy was one of the chief guests, and he spoke very well actually on Dharma. If you
He
remember.
spoke about Dharma, yes.
Yeah, I was very impressed by his speech. I mean, short and sweet, but it was really, really good. Right. So that was Dharma conference, great, and then things continued to move forward with HSC. I think we found a lot more people who wanted to start to join HSC and stuff. So let me go back to this whole idea that because the fact that a lot of these new organizations who call themselves Hindu came on campus, there was also proliferation of the arts, right? So you have a lot of dance groups, you have a lot of kind of Garba Bhangra groups that came on that were taking the audience away. So there was not one place you can have Garba, you can go to like Diwali in 5 different places. So whoever your favorite was, you can go there. So I think that was one of the things that you were referring to earlier. Now, so let's come back to this idea like this. So then why was HSC on campus? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Right. So one very specific reason why HSC is relevant and will remain relevant for many years to come is we are not sectarian. We do not belong to any specific sampradaya or guru. We provide a platform for all ideas and all gurus and all sampradayas to come to us and present and interact with us. So we have, many members in the past came from ISKCON, a very strong tradition. We had people who were followers of Swami Dayananda, strong Vedanta tradition, Advaita Vedanta. Apparently, there could be a conflict, but we made sure that everybody is welcome. Then the second part was mainstream America. Those who are born in a Hindu family or coming from India as a Hindu, that's one side of the story. But we needed to expand Hindu Students Council for those who are not Indian origin or Hindu in origin. I remember in Michigan, University of Michigan, back in 1992, Santuja Swami Chinmanandaji, we had a tour of Swamiji. So many non-Indian origin people came, not necessarily calling themselves Hindus, started to participate in HSC. Many of you know Allegra probably, she comes from the Bhakti movement. So many of the non-Indian traditional people joined. So HSC has a very unique role to play to bring and integrate people of different origins and different languages speaking. I know some of you, your origin is in the Caribbean countries. And so we also started integrating our Hindu brothers and sisters from those countries. And not necessarily they all identify as Hindus, but anyone who is willing to learn about Hindu Dharma, Hindu culture, we welcome them. So that's the basic strength of HSC. And HSC has to give the leadership, keep that role for a long time to come, because others, they're providing service to catering to a particular sampradaya, a particular guru. We all would respect all gurus, all sampradayas. But having said that, as we said, that freedom is the hallmark of Hindu Dharma, to choose not to choose, to do, not to do. We should allow all thoughts to come and enrich each one's life.
Okay, that's great. No, thank you very much for that. And obviously, I've learned a lot from you in how to work with HSC and students and stuff. You have two kids who are born and raised here. Now they're in college, soon to be one of them soon to be out of college. How do you interact with them? Tell us a little bit about you are the student on campus, right? Now you have kids who are now even part of HSC, but also on campus. The way you practice Hindu tradition when you were on campus versus how you see them. What are some of the things, personal challenges maybe that you see that with kids nowadays? How in terms of engagement, right? Mm-hmm. And so how do you interact with your youth today, your kids at home who are in college? How do you discuss Hindu Dharma? What are some of the things that come up? So tell us.
As you know, that I never learned anything of Hindu Dharma formally from any. So it's a self-learning process for most of us.
Sure.
Most of us probably didn't go to Chinmay Mission or any Balviar. So it's a self-learning. The other challenge has been in the past is those parents came from India. They focused in their career, their academic achievements. They had very little to learn about their own heritage. So how are they going to impart that same knowledge? So, for example, do this particular ritual, and they would ask their parents, why do you do it? Oh, you have to do it. As a Hindu, you have to do it. There's no real explanation was available. So we went through those phases, and then we realized, including you, we realized that we have to learn. We have to learn so that we can explain whatever way we can. If we cannot, then we go to the gurus. Swami Dayanandaji has been a great inspiration for many of us. We used to constantly learn from him and many other gurus. So at home, until they're sitting in this room, so I have to be very careful. So until they were teenagers, we did not have any formal discussion on it. So whatever, especially Hemanti is more into puja and bhakti, and so they would learn mostly from her, and I'm more into yoga and Jnana Marg. I more go into that side. So we don't know how much they have taken from that. But when they grew a little more, they started asking questions. Why we do this or why we don't do this. I still have a debate with Sindhu about the evolution, the intelligence theory and consciousness. So it will continue. But I believe that this generation, they are asking right questions. And because resources are much more available, whether Google Devi or a guru or whatever, so the resources are, so they kind of self-learn also. And through seeing us how we lead our life, so that remains. But are there fights? Yes. For example, I'm born in India, of course. Hemant is born in India. So we bring some sanskaras with us from India, being in India, living in India. And now here we are adopted land, America. There's a gap. There will be always gap. Remember that song? Every generation once blames the one before. That song. It's natural because every generation, new generation will think, they didn't know anything. Now we know better. That will remain as a challenge for a long time to come. But as long as we are truth seekers, we are honest to our heritage, honest to ourselves, and we are open-minded, as we discussed earlier. Science and spirituality are not conflict for us, and science means seeking for truth. Science means asking questions, and so Hindu Students Council has a huge responsibility that we keep that tradition of learning by asking questions, just like the Upanishad itself is. And we need more leadership like you, Nikhil bhai, and many of you sitting in this room are leaders in your own way. And only last thing I want to say to all of you that this heritage is precious. There are parts of the world where you have no freedom to express yourself, whether it's even today, communist China or Saudi Arabia, where women got right to drive on the other day. Freedom is the hallmark of Hindu Dharma, and the moment, the places where Hindu Dharma was prominent, for example, those of you who did the Jeopardy game yesterday, Gandhari. Gandhari came from Kandahar. Today is Kandahar, which is Afghanistan. It was a great cultural place, Buddhist, and you see what Talibans are doing there. So there's a great value that we bring to the world from our heritage that can bring world peace, harmony, and prosperity. And if not us, the inheritance of that heritage, who is going to do that? So in America, especially, we have a special role to play. And every minute you give, not only it enhances, enriches you, but it enriches the globe in a way. As I said, that yoga is a sure path for the evolution of each individual and the societies from lower truth to higher truth and lower consciousness to higher consciousness. So for that, Hindu Dharma will remain more relevant in coming days because robots are coming, AI is coming, machine learning is coming. So we have to be vigilant with how we deal with technology as well when it comes to ethics and our human existence. So,
great. Well, it's a pleasure as always. We're out of time, but it's been a great chat. Looking forward to the rest of the camp.
thank you.
Namaste. Namaste.